Welcome back to the Worst Home Show, episode 9, I believe. Yeah, episode
Episode 9.
9. We didn't have one last week because we were planning to do one Monday, and we got a different little background here today. We're at St. John's Country Day School. Playoffs are starting this week. We're trying to get out to a different field every week for
Yeah,
the playoffs, so we'll,
playoffs.
we'll see how that goes. We're still trying to figure all that out, but I think it's a great scenery. Looks good behind us.
Yeah, got the
I think
field
it's a little
there.
different for us. We thought it was going to take us 30 minutes to get set up, but it took us an hour. But that's part of it.
Yeah,
we're
first
gonna-
time doing this.
Yeah, first time. Yeah, and we just thought of it 3 days ago, like for sure answer.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're gonna have an interview today. Later on at the end of the episode, we're about to put out some new rankings, end of the season rankings. Some good games going on tonight and tomorrow for the districts. We'll talk about game of the week, St. Joe's versus Bowles, which was at Fort Family, I believe, on last Wednesday here
Mhm.
Thursday. We'll talk about for each top 5 team, we will talk about their batting average as a team, the hits, earned run average. I think I put stolen bases on there, and RBIs. So each team that's in the top 5 will have that, and we'll put that up on the screen for you guys to see. We'll talk about the player of the game from St. Joe's and Bowles, and an interview with Coach Tom Lucas, head coach for the St. John's Country Day Spartans. And I think it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, I'm excited. Fun being out here.
Yeah.
It's great weather out. Feels
Great
nice
weather.
outside.
Not too cold, not too hot. It's perfect. All right, 9:30 in the morning. Let's see some rankings, Gage. Let's pull that up.
Get this pulled up. Yeah, just want to say what Chandler said a little bit. Thank you to Coach Tom for making this all kind of happen for us. We're very appreciative, and we think this is fun out here. Getting to go out in the field for the first time, make one of these shows. But coming in at 5, the team ending the year at the 5 spot in the rankings is going to be the Bowles Bulldogs. They end up the year playing some decent baseball. I know they want that game back against Snyder that they had last week. They kind of blew that a little bit.
Yeah.
Up big midway through the game and kind of let Snyder come back in. Hopefully it doesn't kill their confidence heading into a very tough district, probably one of the toughest districts in all of Florida, maybe even the whole country. We'll talk about that a little later. They finished the season with a 16-8 record, which is not bad at all. Levi Peachker led the Bulldogs on the mound with 47 in a third innings and an ERA of 2.07, followed up by Jackson Richter, who had a 2.12 ERA in 29 and 2/3 innings. The top hitters for the Bulldogs was Mercer commit catcher Gabe Gonzalez, who hit 388 with 4 bombs, had a good year, and Daytona State commit Jackson Geist, who ended the year with a 373 average. Did you want to pull the stats up from
Yeah,
them?
let's do it.
Right, all right.
Yeah, we saw Bowles, I think, twice, I believe, for game of the weeks. Episcopal versus Bowles. You weren't there,
I
actually.
wasn't at that one. Yeah.
Me and Ashton were there. And then this recent one, St. Joe's versus
St.
Bowles.
Joe's.
Each time we've seen them, they've hit good.
Yeah.
It had some good barrels, good hits. They have the guys in the lineup that can hit. You see on the screen there the batting average. They batted 266 as a team, 177 hits. Runs batted in was 114. Earned run average was 3.16, and they had 51 stolen bases. And I just put down the national average that it had on Max Preps, which this is where I found all these stats. The national batting average is 270, 74 hits, 52 runs batted in, earned run average 5.52, and 35 stolen bases. So
72 hits
yeah.
on the season?
Yeah.
In 25 games?
Yeah, I was surprised about that one too.
That's got to be like schools that, or some, that's to include
says
states
national average.
from
Everything.
Yeah, there's got to be some states that don't play many games or something because of the weather or something like that. But yeah, Bulls
Pretty good year.
above national
Pretty good year.
average.
They got a big
compared to-
game tonight, which we'll go over
Yeah,
after the rankings.
We were looking at their stats earlier, and they're like top 4 or 5 hitters. I would think I was telling you are all above that 300 average. So they got a really good core of hitters, and they have like 2 other hitters in the high 200s.
Yeah.
So if they can get those guys swinging the bat, I think they have the pitching that can do it. Peachker's really good on the mound. He's going to be able to compete really well.
For sure.
So if they can bring it all together, I can see Bulls going a little bit, making a run, but they do have the gauntlet of a district.
They do. one of the best
Must
districts, like you
win.
said earlier.
Must win tonight against
Yeah,
Episcopal.
must win. They have to win that one.
All right. We're going to go
Coming
ahead
in at
and
number 4. Who do we got, Gage?
we got Creekside coming at 4, dropping one spot from the last rankings that we put out. They had probably one of the most interesting seasons to follow as a fan of baseball. Started out with a big win against Providence in the very first game of the season for them.
Week 1 game of the week.
Yep, our week 1 game of the week. We thought Creekside was good then. We had them in the top 5 then. They ended the year also in the top 5. But then right after that, they kind of hit a slump a little bit. They lose like 2 of the next 3. They go on a stretch where every game's back and forth. It's just a toss-up whether they win or lose. End up losing 2 to Bartram. And that moment right there kind of clicked it for them where they got really hot after that. Creekside brought their record to 16-9 and entered the playoffs, winning 12 of the last 15 games. They're one of those teams that can play good baseball and find themselves making a run into that Final Four, especially when they're playing well. They're just a really tough team to beat. I think they're coached very well over there.
Yep.
And especially if the pitching on, they have a couple pitchers that are really good.
Yeah.
We've been able to watch come out the games. Coming out, Nick pitched really well.
Nick
against St.
Romayu,
John's.
very good. Yeah.
Dupre.
You got Bisham.
Yeah.
2 Bishams.
They both have sub-2 ERAs, both the Bisham brothers.
Just talk about Connor Balazic. What a great year for
yeah,
him.
we actually have the stats up right here. Dupre posted a 1.08 ERA over 45 and a third innings, and Bisham had a 1.56 ERA in 31.2 innings. And then for the Creekside hitters, Connor Balazic had an amazing season, batting .486.
Yeah, sophomore.
Through a whole year.
27.
That's pretty impressive. Just under that 500 clip. I know he probably wanted to get himself there. A little selfish, probably.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. Creekside's strength of schedule was 17.3. I think that's one of the strength of schedule in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And having a 16-9 record is pretty good. Yeah.
They're a tough team to beat. They can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I also wanted to mention Parker Morton as well, who batted .324 for Creekside. We're going to pull up their stats right here.
Yep. Creekside, end of the season stats. Batting average .279, which is pretty solid. That's pretty solid. 186 hits. Runs batted in 114. Earned run average 2.0. And then 57 stolen bases. That's pretty solid for Creekside.
Good base running.
For that strength of schedule as well.
Good pitching. I think I was looking at their stats. They don't have as many hitters who are like the crazy high numbers. They're more consistent throughout the lineup. So any guy can kind of step up and add to the offense a little bit, create scoring for the team.
Yeah.
I think that's really good going into the playoffs.
Very good,
If your coach and your teammates have confidence in each other, that anyone throughout the lineup can show up at any moment.
I think they got some of the hitters. They definitely have the pitching.
Yes.
I think it really comes down to the defense.
I think they have really
good
other
team
chemistry too over there.
Yeah, I agree.
They all are kind of in unison.
Yeah, it's a fun team to watch. We played them this year. What was it? 2 weeks ago? Maybe a week and a half ago.
2.
That was a really fun game. Came down to the last inning. We won on a walk-off walk. Very great coach team. They're fun to watch. We've seen them a few times. I think we had them in one or two game of the week.
At least 2. The very first one and second to last one.
We
wanted to make it out to the Creekside and Trinity game too, but
I think I had a game that night.
Yeah,
Something happened, but that was a good game as well. They played Trinity. I know they played Spruce Creek twice this year, beat them once, and then played them in a tournament somewhere down south and lost to them in the last couple innings. I think they won the extra innings, which that's a really good team, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I think Spruce Creek knocked them out of the playoffs last year.
Not sure.
It's coming in at number 3.
Yep, we have the beautiful scenery behind us in the St. John's Country Day Spartans. They end the year in the 3rd spot. Sorry, I should have pulled that up. And I think they played some pretty good baseball to end the season. I expect them to make a deep run in the playoffs, especially behind the arm and ace of Braden Harris, and going along with the coaching staff as well. A lot of experience making runs in the playoffs. I think Coach Tom Lucas is an excellent coach and does an amazing job of preparing his players, and we'll get to talk to him a little bit more about his season later on. The Spartans are led at the plate by hitters TJ Sunderhouse, batting .412, who was a Georgia Highlands commit, and Preston Cole is batting 397. The leaders on the mound for this pitching staff are FSU commit Braden Harris, who finished the regular season with a .7 ERA over 49 and two-thirds innings, also recording 93 punch-outs. Pretty impressive year there for Braden. And then UNF commit Austin Stratman, who had a great year, throwing 30.1 innings with a 2.5 ERA and 44 Ks. Hoping he recovers quickly. You know him pretty well.
Yeah.
Don't think he's going to be able to come back this year. He's going to be sidelined for the playoffs, which is sad for him. Obviously,
senior year.
Everyone wants to play in the playoffs, and it's your senior year. So tough one for Austin. We can go ahead and pull up these St. John's stats, and you can talk a little bit about the Spartans.
St. John's Country Day batting average 308, 196 hits, 124 RBIs, earned run average 2.65, stolen bases 52. I think it's going to come down to our bats in the playoffs. I think we do have the pitching even with Austin Stratman out. I think the pitchers will step up. Ethan Bissell, Madden Williams, Mason Snell, all those guys. I think they'll step up at the right times. Now with regionals with the 3-game series.
Yeah, very important.
I think we have an advantage, a higher advantage in one game with Braden Harris on the mound.
I think that's almost you don't want to obviously speak it.
Yeah.
But that should be a win.
Should.
With most of the teams that you guys are going to face early on in the postseason.
Yeah. It's definitely going to come down to our bats. There's some games we played Parkview last week, and we should have won that one. They scored their first run on a walk. I think we had 4 walks in a row to start off the inning.
Not very good.
Which not a good thing. Energy goes down from there after you see your pitcher walk 4 batters in a row. I had an error in the second inning, dropped the fly ball as a routine fly ball, just dropped it. I don't think anyone scored on it. And then someone else scored. Just some stupid how they scored, and we had 7 errors.
Yeah.
And our guys walked.
Game, yeah.
We as hitters walked 10 times.
Dang.
And we lost the game. Yeah. I think we lost. They scored. It was tied going into the top of the 7th. They scored 5 runs, and it was kind of just over from there.
Yeah, on the coffin.
Some stupid things happened in that last inning. Yeah, but that was a good game. They have a good team. Nick Bowden actually hit an absolute bomb to tie up the game to right field. Must have landed in the back of the track. Yeah, that was a fun game, and it's always cool to play a team like Parkview like that.
Yeah, and 308 average is pretty impressive.
Pretty solid.
Going there out. You can continue that into the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, I think that was kind of our main goal is to get the offense up and running each game. I think that was I would say our weakness to start off the season. That's definitely our weakness, getting our bats rolling. We had a few tough games in the first couple games.
Mm-hmm.
And then we finally got it rolling. We started playing together. Good things happened.
Yeah.
And it's been a great season. Had a fun season. Met some new guys. Some of my best friends now.
Your first year over here.
Yeah. Great coaching staff. Don't regret it at all. Let's see number 2 here.
All right. Coming in at the second spot this year, one of the hottest teams in the city, the hottest team in the city at the moment, and one of the best teams when they're playing like they're playing right now is going to be the Bishop Snyder Cardinals. Had an amazing back half this season. They post a 19-5 record and enter districts on an 11-game streak, which is impressive. We did a little bit of research, and I mean, there's a small chance we're wrong, but we're 99% positive. That's the highest win streak this year any team has put up in Jacksonville. I know that Trinity had a 10-game.
Trinity had a 10. I think we had a 9.
9, yeah. So you guys got close. It's a great time to get hot. Probably the best time to get hot.
Yeah.
The team chemistry has to be rolling. They're probably confident.
They have a big game coming up here Tuesday. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, confident as can be right now. And I mean, when they're playing like this, obviously it's baseball. Anyone can go out and win any game. But they definitely are going to be a tough team to beat in the districts and then in the regionals. I think they're already in the regionals at the 2 seed.
I believe so.
So I think they're already
could be wrong.
Already in the regionals. But the pitchers for this team, the best statistical pitchers, was Tennessee commit Cody Boschel, who threw 37 and 2/3 innings at a 1.86 ERA, and Cole Dennis, who had a 1.31 ERA in 32 innings. A great year from Cole and Cody over there, sub-2 ERAs. And then the hitters on this team that led were Oklahoma State commit Trip Hanna, who had a 4.11 average, and Cody Boschel, who hit 9 homers and batted 373. I think Snyder has both the bats and the arms
Yeah,
to
I
make a
agree.
run. Pull up here's the stats right here. But just looking at the way they've ended the year and most of the games they won pretty good. A couple of close ones, like we talked about earlier, come back and beat Bulls
Yeah.
to end the season. But they're
Which
pretty
that was actually a crazy game.
pretty
Once you go
happy.
look at the stats, I
Mhm.
didn't actually watch it, but I watched some of the game changer here and there. If you look at the stats, freaking Bowles was up 9-0 in the fourth inning. If you're Bishop Snyder or you're any other team down 9-0 in the fourth inning, you kind of have that doubt that you're going to win the
Yeah,
game.
100%.
You're going to have that doubt. You might not say it out loud, but you definitely have that doubt. But then they come back. I'm not sure how many they scored that inning, but I think it was 8 or 9 or 10, one of those. Um, which I know that dugout's got some great energy.
Yeah, they do.
Which always Bishop Snyder always has good energy. Um, let's just pull this up. Batting average 289 on the year, 168 hits, 132 runs batted in. Earned run average is 2.71 and 70 stolen bases. Looks like they've stolen a lot of bases compared to
Mhm.
some other teams. They definitely have the bats.
Yeah,
They definitely
100%.
have the pitching. It's a pretty fun team to watch. Um, let's see. I believe they play Providence
They do.
Tuesday, which is the district semifinals.
Mhm.
That'd be a fun game to watch if
Mhm.
you want to go watch some high school baseball. That's going to be a good one to watch. Providence is has a great team this year. It's kind of slow little ending they've had.
Yeah, they've kind of
Some dealing with some injuries and stuff like that, which that always happens
they've hit a
on
little
every
bit of a
team.
wall. They got a great coach over there.
Great coach.
Um,
Same with Bishop Snyder.
mhm.
Like I said, they're fun to watch. Dugout's always up, which is always good. They got Cody Bichelle on the mound, which he's fun to see to pitch. Uh,
I
and the,
think one advantage of Snyder is just the ability to put up runs that they have. A lot of their games they've scored a pretty decent amount of runs
yeah,
in, and I think when you're able to do that, it gives your pitchers an extra confidence boost as well
to go out
because
there.
they
Yeah,
can go out there and know, okay, one run, if like a pitcher messes up, hits the batter, walks a run in, it's not the end of the world as when you're a team who maybe doesn't have the best offense production. And
yeah,
so when your hitters are hot like they are right now, just the whole team's gonna be playing well.
for sure. Yeah, and then coming in at number one, which has been number one since our preseason.
Yeah, they haven't fallen off yet this year. The best team in Jacksonville, numero uno. I think it's pretty a consensus. Everyone kind of thinks this that Trinity is the best team at the moment. They finished season 21-4, the only 20-win team in Jacksonville, and I think this team's finally playing at the level that everyone kind of expected them to be at this year.
Yeah,
Starting the year off, looked okay. The pitching has been phenomenal throughout the whole year, but I think this past 2 weeks the hitters have really stepped it up, and this team is they look pretty tough to beat. They just went down or went up to Cary, North
yeah, they
Carolina,
had a
played in
great.
the USA National High School Invitational up there in Cary. Had a great weekend up there. Went 3-4, made it to the state or not the state. They made it to the championship game up there and ended up losing in the last inning, which is I know this is tough. They want to win that, but they are going to come back down to Jacksonville with their heads up high. I knew they played in really good baseball. Uh, and just like most of the teams in the top five, Trinity has everything they need to go on a state championship run. We're going to see if they can do it over there. I know that those guys, they made what, Final Four last year?
Yeah,
You were there.
yeah,
Pretty
that's
much the same team. They
crazy
lose
one.
you, Braden, Maddox Lee,
That's about it. Braden Hansen.
Braden Hansen. Other than that,
Other than that, same
same
team, added some
team.
more guys.
Yeah.
Chris Reale, Parker Lau.
So they've
Um,
been on this run before, and I know they're excited to go back.
You're dealing with some injuries though. Both of their catchers that have been
Yeah.
switching off this season are actually down and out for the rest of the season.
They got a good young
Gage
guy.
Patrus, I actually believe something with his leg, could be his knee, could be his, I don't know, something with his leg. Nothing's for sure yet on him. He has an MRI today actually. Brandon McKee MCL.
Yeah, hoping
He's
the
out for the
best
season.
for both
Committed
of
to
them.
Flagler. But Trutz committed to Alabama. So Brendan Backtail is now going to be behind the plate for the Conquers. Let's actually pull those stats up if you don't have anything else.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick. You can bring their stats up, but the top two pitchers for Trinity this year were Virginia commit Aaron Watson, who posted a .91 ERA over 46 innings, and Florida commit Tyler Ellis, who had a 1.13 ERA in 31 innings. I don't have Ethan's stats up here, but
He's had a
also
great season
Florida
as
commit
well.
Ethan Wheeler was right there, just right there behind them statistically in
We'll find
ERA,
it.
but same thing. Really good pitcher. Probably the best staff in Jacksonville.
I'd say so.
They have three really good starters for all three regional games if they need a third one. So that's really good for them going in. Their coaches are have that in the back of their mind when they're playing. It's pretty good. And leading the hitters was UF commit Brady Harris, who batted 400, and Alabama commit Gage Petrutz, like we just mentioned, who batted 357. Hope for a speedy recovery from him.
Yeah. Also, let's see. A&R Net batted 333.
Yeah, a lot of high stats
A lot of.
when you look at this team. They put up the numbers pretty well.
Ethan Wheeler, ERA of 1.87,
Mm-hmm.
8 appearances, 45 innings, 32 hits,
Yeah,
12 earned runs, 18 walks, and 60 strikeouts. If you look at who he's pitched against, Jesuit, IMG.
Yeah, he's had a really good year. I just picked the two kids with the highest or lowest ERAs, but definitely want to mention him as well.
Not even just pitching either. I mean, he had a great year hitting as well. Batted 329, 21 RBIs out of the 127 they had. Let's see, 5 doubles. So 5 extra base hits, pretty solid. Let's see. And then 15 walks, 15 strikeouts. It's pretty solid. You never want to have more strikeouts than walks. So he did a good job there. Great job on pitching great, hitting great. That's the kind of teammate you want. The two-way type of player. Which if committed to Florida, there was a guy at Florida not too long ago that's known to be one of the best two-way players in baseball. And hopefully Ethan can continue to keep doing that and be at Florida and known as another two-way hitter at Florida and two-way pitcher. Look at the stats here in the season for Trinity Christian. They batted 291 as a team, 195 hits, 129 runs batted in. Earned run average was 153, and they had 49 stolen bases. I think we saw them. I'm trying to see their strength of schedule.
Best
for game of the weeks. I think we saw them once or twice.
Only once. So we've seen.
I know they saw UC versus Trinity.
Snyder.
Week 2. They played
Snyder and Trinity.
Yeah, that's right. So we saw them twice.
So and we're gonna see them again. We're gonna get out to one of the regional games, most likely for Trinity. We'll try and get around to a lot of, or most of the regional games that we can get to.
Yeah.
We'll choose one a day, probably.
So Trinity went 21-4, right? 18.3 strength of schedule.
So that's actually higher than Creekside.
Yeah,
right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, they played really
they had
good
a great
competition
season.
and
21 a lot of close
wins.
games if you look at it. Which is normal. High school baseball, you're gonna have an off day. People are gonna have off days and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know Trinity. They've been hearing it a lot. Probably internally with each other, the players. They know deep down they haven't played at the highest level throughout the whole year.
Even talking to some of them, they say that to me as well.
But I know that they're feeling pretty good now. That they're finally pulling it together as a team. Not that they've played bad at all this season. They played tremendous, winning 21 games.
I actually asked one of them last week. I was like, "You think you guys are gonna make a good run?" He kind of paused for a minute. It was like, "It depends what we do in Cary."
Yeah.
And they did a pretty good job in Cary, so we'll see how they do. Some of the best teams in the nation. So let's pull up the both two screens. Pull up the rankings so we can just finish it off on the rankings.
Oh, okay.
So pretty solid. Trinity 1, Snyder 2, St. John's 3, Creekside 4, Bowles 5.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this earlier, I was asking Chandler just his thoughts on who should be at that 5 spot, and we kind of agreed that Bulls and Episcopal were pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
This game tonight will kind of determine whether we were wrong or right, kind of on the rankings at the end of the season right here. A big game. We're going to
I
talk
think
about
that would be a great game. Yeah.
I
I think
a little later, but
yeah. So that's actually the quarterfinals, the district quarterfinals, and I think whoever loses that game is out of the playoffs. So it's kind of a big game tonight. I believe it's at Episcopal. Not 100% sure on that. We'll look it up when I'm on the break. Anyways, great top 5. We'll go on a break, come back, and talk about the St. Joseph's Bowls games, player of the game of that game, and games coming up. Then we'll go on another break, and then joined in here with head coach Tom Lucas of St. John's Country Day.
Yeah, games at Episcopal.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Sweet. If you guys are wanting to play at the next level, or even go to another school, North Florida showcases the design for high school, junior college, and transfer portal baseball players who want to showcase their skills in front of college coaches. These events also provide the latest metrics, including batting exit velocity, throwing velocity, 60-yard dash times, and more. They're dedicated to helping players become prospective student athletes at the next level. Make sure you guys go check them out on Instagram and X. North Florida Showcases. Make sure you guys go check out Carry Apparel. Carry Apparel draws inspiration from positive quotes. On the website it says, "In life, we go through challenges. Sometimes athletes go through additional life challenges. Carry Apparel strives to keep individuals in a positive mindset. Be ready is the basis of their business. Always be ready because you never know when you are called upon and it's your turn to show your abilities. Be ready in everything you do, whether that's at school, work, or as an athlete. Always be ready." Make sure you guys go check them out on Instagram and check out their website, carryapparel.com. Back from the break, we'll talk about, the game of the week we had last week, St. Joe's versus brain fart Bulls. There we go. Bulls won 8-0 with St. Joe's Academy. Let's see. Bulls had 9 hits, 2 errors. St. Joe's had 2 hits and 2 errors. I think the pitching for St. Joe's was pretty good, not too bad.
Yeah, they weren't really. Bulls just kind of they put some.
They were aggressive,
barrels.
yeah.
They put some barrels up.
Our player of the game had 2 doubles. I believe I remember 2 other doubles, which is pretty good for Bulls. 9 hits. I think it was 8-0. That's not a run rule, so they finished all 7 innings.
They did. We were talking about it being a run rule, but I think they scored 6 or 7 through 3.
Yeah, it was kind of a dominant game for Bulls the whole time.
Out early. Peachker looked great on the mound. He was attacking the zone. I think he threw 5 innings.
Yeah.
And then they brought in another lefty. I don't exactly remember who. Right after that, finished the last
Clyde.
2. Yeah,
no, Clyde was the last one.
Clyde, yeah. I don't remember his last name.
I forgot it.
He looked good too. Didn't let up any runs. He got a couple times where he got bases loaded one inning. I think
in the jam, got a little bit in the jam, got out of it. Let the defense do their job. It's a pretty good game for Bulls. They needed that win.
Yeah.
Which is good for them. Which the game that really matters is tonight for Bulls versus Episcopal, which we said it was at Episcopal, right?
Yeah. They're the higher seed. Bulls comes down to 5. Episcopal is 4.
That's a tough district.
It is.
You lose what? They lost 7 games and they're the last in their district.
Yeah, Peachker will be on the mound.
I think Peachker.
We're pretty sure he's throwing tonight.
And then
must-win game
I think
for them.
Jude for Episcopal will be on the mound for them. Must-win game for both of them. So that's always a little nerves before the game for both teams. Definitely a lot of nerves because that could be seniors. That could be their last game of the season. I think both teams have a good amount of seniors.
Yeah.
Let's pull up the player of the game. Rylan Baker, Represent Baseball, player of the game. We're going to send him over a T-shirt. We posted that one on Instagram. Go check that out. Rylan Baker, player of the game, 3 for 4 at the plate, 2 RBIs, 2 doubles. He had a single. Down at the bottom, I put Rylan Baker, VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University commit. Class of 2026 went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and 2 RBIs, and an 8-0 win over St. Joe's, helping lead the Bulldogs to a dominant victory. Pretty solid night for Rylan.
Really well.
Yeah, some beautiful swings.
I think
Um,
one of his doubles was a ground rule double, or
I think it was pretty cool. I don't think it
I know
was.
they had one ground rule double.
Yeah,
His might have been the other one went off the wall. I think
yeah, it
hit
did go off the wall. Yeah,
one right
we'll
center
post
and one
that
left
video.
center. I think.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
you're right. And then it was lefty on lefty matchup. Whole night they pitched three. St. Joe's pitched three lefties. Um, so lefty on lefty matchup, getting 3 hits against them.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
What'd you see out of that game? First
Yeah.
time seeing St. Joe's.
Yeah, we know they've had a really good record this year. Their strength of schedule maybe not as high as other people's, but
Yeah.
still winning a bunch of games is very good. We thought this game was going to be pretty good.
That would
I
be
know
a little closer.
St. Joe's is in your district,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah, so you kind of first time you've seen them as well. Their pitching wasn't great. Throwing a lot of not terribly
Not
throwing a lot of
terrible.
balls. They just kind of got hit around. Maybe the command wasn't great, but their second pitcher came in there. I think he was throwing 86,
88,
87,
89,
88.
yeah,
Yeah,
89.
so he was throwing really good lefty. He didn't look bad at all. I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting one of their games.
Yeah.
Maybe against
I
y'all.
think
maybe
they
not.
play. I'm not 100%. UC.
I can look that up.
I think I
that.
wrote it down, to be honest.
I had a screenshot of that.
St. Joe's versus UC on Tuesday, which is the district semifinals.
And do you know who has to? Or
Who do we play?
you guys will play the winner of First Coast and Christchurch,
Which is tonight. That one is tonight.
But I'm not sure.
Wait, First Coast Christian.
Yeah, First Coast Christian. Sorry. I'm not sure whether or not we didn't really look at who's like already guaranteed to go in or not.
Yeah,
or
we didn't
who
check
needs to
all
win
that
or
stuff.
lose to make the playoffs really. But I'd imagine that
I think seed
St.
1 and
Joe's is
2, seed 1 and 2.
in the higher districts or the better teams will make it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a game against UC. I think I think St. Joe's will be in it. I'm not sure what the other side of the other district that you guys will feed into regionals, how good those teams are ranked. It's like
no, NFC
Eagle is that
in
it's
our
not,
region.
It's not Eagles View and
Our region? I think it's NFC. St. Joe's.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll look into that.
I'm not 100%
100%
sure
yeah.
on that one.
But both swung it really well.
They did.
we
Riley
said
Baker
earlier?
did a good job.
Yeah,
I think I remember Ford McCarthy hit a double.
Yeah, they got a really good group of core hitters.
Yeah.
That will
So
look to see if they can stay hot.
They can find their bats tonight. They beat Episcopal the last time, which was
Mhm.
actually our game of the week. That was somewhat of a close game. Both pitchers started out slow, but ended up being a great game.
Mhm.
So I think it'll be a good game tonight.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be. Hopefully it's streamed somewhere, but I'll definitely be watching it on Game Changer.
Look forward to that. We'll keep up with all the district games.
Yeah. St. Joe's and versus Bowls will be out on YouTube sometime this week. Clay Bishop Snyder a few weeks ago will be on YouTube out next week.
Mhm.
I think that's the last one.
We're not
we
gonna.
just posted St. Joe's.
We're not making it to
St.
any
John's.
district games. We're trying to get caught up on all the editing.
Yeah, we got to finish
then
all that.
We're gonna try and go to as many regional
games
as possible. Get that out, and those would be good to watch. You guys will want to see your regional game, especially if you win them.
Yeah,
it'd be a good thing to have going forward. And yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about the games coming up.
There we go. So some games that I saw that's playing tonight, which was Christchurch, First Coast Christian, First Coast versus Mandarin, which I think you actually went to that game.
Yeah, I watched them play once. Is it Hayden Carnes?
Hayden
right?
Carnes, yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine
Dominant on the mound, dominant hitting.
Yeah, he had a home run, pitched a complete game against Mandarin when we went last time.
Yeah, which I'm not sure if they'll pitch him again.
Yeah, who knows?
I'm
not sure who needs
out.
to win that. I didn't screenshot that one from earlier, but yeah, it should be. I think that's a very
That'll be a good game.
even matchup. Both those teams probably need a win.
Like we've been talking about, Bowls versus Episcopal.
Yeah.
Tonight, is that 6:30 or?
I'm not sure when that starts. I think it's.
I would say 7. I think playoffs is either 4 or 7. I could be wrong.
This says 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
So if you got nothing to do, go
out to Episcopal.
Yeah.
This great background, great place to be at, right on the water. Tuesday, April 15th, district semifinals. Some games that already for sure. University Christian versus St. Joe's. That'll be a good game.
Yeah.
Bartram versus Tokoi.
Very
I think it would be a good game.
important game. I think I have that one. Let's see. That district. Yeah, Coy and Bartram, the 2 and 3 seed. Bartram really needs to win the districts to make into regionals.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what Takoi looks like. They're the 2 seed in their district. I'm
that
not
should be
sure.
good. That should be good.
Yeah, so big game for Bartram. Not the best year for Bartram. I know they probably
Kind of on and off the year.
they probably feel like they underperformed a little bit. No, we know the head coach pretty well over there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think this team. It's not. I wouldn't consider this a rival, is it? But
I wouldn't say so.
they know each other.
They know each
pretty
other.
well. They know the other players
Yeah.
on other teams, so that'll be a fun one to go to.
I agree with that. Creekside versus Flagler Palm Coast. I believe they played already this year.
Yeah, they did.
Creekside came out with that one. I think it was a close game. I think this game will actually be good, depending who's on the mound. It's a Tuesday, so I think Bison.
Yeah,
I think that's a Bison start.
and they don't. They might not even. I know Creekside. They're guaranteed to make the region as the 1 seed. So we'll see if they even throw their guys. I imagine that they need to get innings in, but I doubt they might not throw them a full game.
Throw 'em, yeah, I
might just
agree
kind of
with
get
that.
everyone innings that need to pitch for regionals.
That's the semifinals, so they got 2 games this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they
should be
also
good.
have. I think we mentioned that earlier, but Creekside, another team with 3 really good starters. So
Yeah.
they put themselves in a good spot for the regional 3-game
Mhm.
series.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then that big game, Bishop Snyder
Mm-hmm.
versus Providence.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a good game to go to as well. If you want to go out to a Tuesday game, that might be the best one you see.
I think Providence really needs to win this game.
And yeah,
if they drop this one to Snyder, I just see the confidence kind of going out for them. I want to just look and see
so
real quick.
Trinity plays the winner, Bulls versus Episcopal
Mhm.
Tuesday night, and then yeah, that's a crazy district.
Yeah, it is by far the best district in the city.
Yeah.
Probably in the state as well. Yeah, Providence ended 15-9, so they won 3 of their last 4, beating Takoi, Richmond Hill, losing to Buchholz to end the season out. Lost to you guys right before then.
Yeah. I think we might see a Bishop Snyder. Cody
think?
Bochelle.
I'd imagine he's their ace,
Yeah.
so-called. Even though Cole Dennis is a very good pitcher
Cole
as
Dennis.
well.
It could be Cole Dennis or Cody Bochelle.
Just
For
depends,
Providence.
maybe. I
Pickett?
know. I wouldn't be surprised if Cody pitched now because they might want to be saving him a little bit for
regionals. for
if they
Trinity.
face in Trinity maybe.
I agree with that. Yeah.
They might see Cole tonight.
Yeah.
Or no, we probably see Cody tonight. Cole in that
Cole in
district
the
championship game,
championship,
and
yeah.
then we'll go to regionals from there. Yeah.
So for Providence, might see Pickett.
I'm not sure who
Walls?
they'll throw. Walls.
Could we throw Walls?
Matricardi.
Matricardi's hurt. He's
Oh,
done.
he's hurt on
down
the
for
mound.
the year. Yeah. So
Yeah, they got a good staff over there
Yeah,
as
they do.
well.
a lot of good staffs in Jacks.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Good baseball in Jacksonville. There's
Yeah.
so many schools in Jacksonville, going like these other areas. Like in Georgia, they pull from a larger area, so they have a lot of kids there. But Jacksonville's so spread out. There's so
Yeah.
many schools there where there's so much talent that you could probably make if you combine like the 3A districts. Like if they had one team and the 2A districts had one team.
Yeah. This is
You probably have some really good baseball teams.
this is what I think. If you win, say your district, you should compete with all of the like 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. I think there somehow needs to be a tournament where everyone plays each other for a state championship. And I know they thought about that before. Instead of it just being like 7 people win a state championship, it should be a one person.
Oh, so you're saying all the state champions will then go into like a tournament, or
Yeah.
like all the teams from the Final Four, or something like that go,
Somehow there's a tournament where
or at least split it up. Maybe it's where there's like, because there is a big difference from teams in 1A and
Yeah.
teams in 7A. So maybe like 7, 6, 5
and 4 compete
play
for
in their own state championship
Yeah.
bracket, and then 3, 2, and 1 would compete in their own. I could see that kind of like bringing it up so it's the same format, districts, regionals for your 2A, 1A,
Yeah.
and then when they get to the Final Four, maybe
Then the other
all
teams
the-
come in.
yeah, so there'd be like 12 teams,
12
from 3A, yeah. Like maybe I don't know how that would work if 2 teams would get a bye
I'd
or
have to
something
see it
like
on
that.
paper.
Yeah, we'd
It's
get
kind of hard to
put
see.
that out, but I think that's a good idea. Kind of getting teams to play different teams
Which
more.
it would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
And instead of 7 people winning a state championship, maybe only 2 people win a
and you
state
still should
championship.
probably get like some sort of award
Yeah,
or
I
like
agree.
plaque saying you made it to the Final Four for your like or like
Classification.
District 2A co-champions
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever the classification 2A co-champions, all the 4 of those teams from each.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good idea. I
yeah.
wonder if
Let's
something
talk
like
to
that will
someone.
happen
Let's
one
talk to
day.
someone about that.
Yeah, I doubt we got the.
I think they'd have to add more games to the schedule. It would cause more games to the schedule, so maybe they'd have to take more, like a couple games off the regular season for that to happen.
Probably, yeah.
Because injuries is the big thing in high school. Every team's gonna have injuries,
Hmm.
and I think every team this year has had injuries.
Yeah, we're seeing that.
Question for you is, before we go on the break, did you ever have any nerves, going into playoff games? I know you guys didn't go down to a Final Four. Did you ever
No,
have nerves in
we never made it out
regionals?
the second round of the regionals. We
Really?
yeah, I think we were pretty disappointed with the way we played in
Yeah.
playoffs every time we played there because we definitely should have been at least to the one Final Four with the teams that played on. Obviously, that last year we have the same kids that are on this Trinity team now. They were all freshmen and
8th graders.
yeah, they were all freshmen
Were
then.
they?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's
that
right.
was
I
two
was a
years
freshman.
ago.
Yeah.
They're juniors now. Yeah, so definitely disappointed in that. I think there are nerves in playoff games. Obviously, I just pitched in. I was a reliever, so I just pitched in the later
Some of
innings of the games.
yeah, which is the biggest times to
Yeah,
pitch, I
and I
believe.
think as I got older, was able to turn. And I've talked to people about this before, but turning your nerves into excitement. So I wasn't necessarily nervous or shy or kind of like hesitant out there. I was able to control my breathing. Obviously, the heart rate picks up a little bit,
Yeah,
especially if
for
you get
sure.
runners on base, big
Yeah.
moment in the game. You have that thought in your mind, but if you just learn to turn that into excitement, I think that's where you can kind of flip the switch a little bit and even elevate your game a little bit because you're just so ready and you want to be out there. But then it's also disappointing
Yeah,
whenever you
for
lose
sure. Yeah.
in these moments. But I don't know how you feel when you play in big games. I think everyone can say they have a little bit of nerves. I think it's just natural when you're stepping on the field.
Yeah.
Just the motion that goes along in the game. If you care a lot, you're gonna be a little nervous.
Yeah, for sure.
Just channeling that in as much as possible.
The Final Four game, I remember our coach telling us, our coaches telling us that we're gonna be nervous.
Mhm.
It's always normal to be nervous, but
Yeah.
I don't really feel like that. I was nervous a lot.
I think
I know I was
maybe
nervous before the game.
yeah. I think once you get to like the third or third
Yeah,
inning, you kind
you're
of get
fine.
that first at bat out the way. I
Yes.
think
So it
you're
was kind of a weird setup for that Final Four game. We practiced on one of the side fields, got warmed up, everything like that. As soon as that game finished before us, we went on the field,
Mhm.
and it was like pitcher got ready and we were rolling.
yeah.
So
I think
it was kind of different. I was a little nervous before, once we stepped on the practice field. I think everyone had those little nerves,
yeah.
taking IO, hitting on the field. But if I just remember stepping on the field, it was just like a normal game. I wasn't really nervous. Um, we were cruising through the whole game to about the 5th inning.
Yeah.
Some things happened, and that's how we lost. But other than that, I don't think I was too nervous unless before the game, maybe the night of.
Yeah, I think nerves are normal though. I remember watching the Florida and Houston national championship game, and the Houston coach got interviewed after their first like TV break or timeout that they have commercial timeouts,
Uh-huh.
and I think both teams were combined like 0 of 12 or 0 of 14 from three. And
Jeez.
the reporter asked him, he's like, "Why are you guys shooting well or whatever?" And he's like, nerves. The Houston head coach like, nerves are normal. Is out there. They're not playing a regular season game against nobody. They're playing the biggest game of their lives. So
Yeah.
it's completely normal to be nervous. And like if you watched that game at all, what happened was later in the first half and then going on the second half, they settled in. They were perfectly fine. So I think it's very relatable to baseball. The first 2 innings maybe might be a little slow for the pitcher, a little slow for the hitters, but once they settle in, it's just another game out there.
I agree.
Maybe you might get a little nervous if it's really close out there in the
Yeah.
sixth, seventh inning.
7th inning, bases loaded.
Yeah,
and you're
that's
pitching. That's a pretty nervous spot
definitely
when your
wanna
game's on the line.
control your
Season's on the
breathing
line.
there. Yeah.
Nerves are normal.
Mhm.
Everyone's gonna have nerves. Coaches will have the nerves.
Yeah.
Hitters will have the nerves. Think umpires get nervous at all? Like being scared of making the wrong call.
Yeah,
think
depending
so?
on the guy.
Yeah.
It's depends on the experience. Some umpires have been doing it for 25 years.
That's
If
true,
they've
yeah.
been doing the final four games, if they're like the top crews, they've been doing that for a while. So maybe it's just
Maybe a little bit, but
maybe a little. They know they get excited. They want to do those
yeah,
games too. So it's probably the same feeling for them.
yeah, I'd say so. Um, anyways, we'll go on a break. Then we'll be joined in here with head coach Tom Lucas of the. Make sure you guys go check out Carry Apparel. Carry Apparel draws inspiration from positive quotes. On the website, it says, "In life, we go through challenges. Sometimes athletes go through additional life challenges. Carry Apparel strives to keep individuals in a positive mindset. Be ready is the basis of their business. Always be ready because you never know when you are called upon and it's your turn to show your abilities. Be ready in everything you do, whether that's at school, work, or as an athlete. Always be ready. Make sure you guys go check them out on Instagram and check out their website, carryapparel.com. All right, we're back from the break. We're joining here with head coach Tom Lucas of the St. John's Country Day Spartans. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Tell us how all it started. You started. You're named the head coach in 2014 at St. John's. Just walk us through a little bit of how the coaching career started for you.
So really had gotten out of baseball, when I went to college, came back and coached, I think just 1 year, and then had a girl and started, just kind of wanted to be a girl dad, and she wasn't a softball or baseball player. And later on, as she got in high school, I had a buddy ask me, he knew my background in baseball, asked me if I could just help him out. He had gotten a middle school job and he wasn't a baseball guy. So I went out there and just kind of helped him out. I mean, he didn't know how to run cuts or any of that stuff. So that was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And St. John's at that time had some really good players here, and they needed a pitching coach. And so they had kind of heard that I had volunteered my time out there at that middle school and asked me if I could come on and the next year and be the pitching coach. So I did that for 2 years, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, wasn't really something I was looking to do, and it just kind of found me. And then it started to click and got a little passion going. And I'd been so removed from high school baseball from in the late 80s and how it had changed and just how big it had gotten and how hyped up the games were. And something I really wanted to do. And then the coach had been here a long time, retired, and they asked me if I was interested in applying for the job. And I wanted, if I was going to do it, I wanted it to kind of be a little bit different and kind of be a little bit more all in, year round, training and things like that. And so the rest is history. So I think I'm in my 11th year now as the head coach.
Yeah, and talk about 10 years later, you won the state championship, first time in Clay County history, of course in St. John's history. Just talk about that, that experience you had, what you remember that the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey, I will say. It's probably never had the aspirations that we'd ever reach that level of baseball whenever I was here. I mean, my first year, we didn't have 9 players. We had 8 players. I had to go recruit the 9th guy. And you come in and you've got all these big goals, and I'm going to set a standard and all the different themes that you're trying to run. And I literally took a 9th guy. No offense to band guys. I think he was a band guy, and he wore jeans to practice. And I mean, I couldn't tell him he couldn't do it because I needed him. I mean, he was my 9th guy. And so we went from that, and I think we won 3 games year one. And, we just slowly started building it. And, it's probably 19. We reached a regional final, lost to North Florida Christian. And then from 19 until now, we've kind of been on this run, where we've probably been one of the top programs in the state and, have been ranked, I think, in 1A baseball the last 5 years. We've been the consensus #1 team. But baseball, and I know we're going to talk about this later, it's so hard when it's one game decides it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's many times I thought we were the best team, and we played one bad game. We got to the Final Four 3 different times and finally got over the hurdle last year of winning it all. And I think I felt kind of like Rory did yesterday. If you saw him and you just
Massive.
collapse to the
Yeah.
ground, it's kind of a burden, to be honest with you, because you think you're a pretty good coach and of what you're doing, but when you keep losing that big game, to
Yeah.
lose it 2 times, that's a tough bus ride home. And it's you start second guessing decisions, and there's so many coin flips that we make that it's a 50-50 call, and sometimes you make gut decisions, and I'd made a few of those that didn't work out, and winning it last year was just a big relief. It kind of 22 was the best team we had,
Yeah.
and we played you guys, and you guys were loaded. I mean,
Yeah.
in 22, and you know how good we were to
Mhm.
beat you guys 3 times. I mean, how good is that team? That team didn't even go to a Final Four. I mean, that's how hard it
Yeah,
can
it is,
be,
yeah.
sometimes just to get there. And to win it all is just something special.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can see what you built here at St. John's and what's special with the teams you had and the runs you're able to make in the playoffs. What kind of advantage or what do you do as a coach to give your players a competitive advantage for the playoffs?
I think we try to prepare them. I mean, I
Mhm.
think we probably overly prepare. Like we tell them we're going to be real detail oriented in practice. We try to break down the game into very small elements in practice, and we work on all of those. And they might only happen one time in the season, but we keep stressing to them when it happens, it's going to be the biggest
Yeah.
moment of the season. So we do a really good job of that. We do a really good job, I think, of getting our guys ready for the opponent that's coming in. As far as much information we can provide to them of what we think we're going to see. Um, hitting is hard at every level of baseball. And I learned something being around a lot of the college coaches I've had the opportunity to be around is how much, scouting, advanced scouting they do, of the opposing pitchers and what their tendencies are and, just different things that they might do in the game that I came back in the last probably 4 years. We've really focused in on that. It's just try to provide the hitters of an understanding of what they might face from every pitcher that comes in. So I think we do a pretty good job of that. And then we just compete. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
we might not be the most talented team every game, but you're going to get our best shot. We really try to compete at all times.
Yeah, and I think people who play against you guys, St. John's can agree with that. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about the 3-game series and playoffs, and kind of will that change your coaching style at all? Maybe in game 1 in the 7th inning you wouldn't be as aggressive in a situation as where you'd be in game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm real excited about it. I think it's something that we've needed ever since that 22 year. I mean, I think in 22, if we played that team that beat us, 2 more times, we win
Yeah.
those 2 games. And so from that point on, I really think the best overall team is going to come out. Now, I mean, this year we're thin on pitching. So, and the teams that we're playing against, as I've scouted them out, they're definitely deeper
Yeah.
on the pitching staff than we are. So a lot will come into play with that. As far as strategy goes, I mean, I think a win is a win. So I think you go out and do whatever you can to get that first
Yeah.
win. And so, as I've thought about it, and everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, is kind of treating it like travel ball. And what I've always told my coaches that I've kind of worked with is you can never leave with any bullets in your gun. Like you got to go win,
Yeah.
win now, and then survive, win, and then figure it out. So if you get to game 3, and then figure out what you have left, at that point. And that's where, positional guys and things like that are going to end up having to pitch, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
We've started preparing some of our positional guys. We don't throw them a lot because it's hard to catch or play shortstop and go pitch. And so we're trying to save their arms. But in the last few weeks, we've rotated those guys in because most likely for us to win, for us to win, 10 more games, we're going to have to use those guys.
Of course, yeah.
Do you think they just passed it for regionals? Do you think there should ever be a 3-game series in the Final Four state championship game? I know the problem was with traveling and costs like that, but that would be pretty cool to see a Final Four, like a 3-game series for that.
Yeah, no, it would be. I think logistics gets to be the problem. If you want to have a special venue, like going to Fort Myers is very special. If you want to have that, well, it's really tough to do a 3-game series in Fort Myers because you've got, minor league stadium, and they need that facility. So I think that gets to be the problem. I know they've talked about doing like an elite division and moving those guys out. Maybe you do the first round of the Final Four is at a home site, but even in that, the travel that could be involved, if we matched up with Region 4, well, now you're talking about a South Florida team having to come up here and play a doubleheader. That could just be tough. So Georgia seems to figure it out. So I
Yeah,
don't,
they do a pretty good
yeah,
job.
they do a good job.
So, talk about last year's season. Like, what's the difference from this year's team and last year's team? Both have a pretty good record going in the playoffs. Just tell us a little about the difference of both teams.
Yeah, I mean, so that team was, very talented. I think in the starting lineup, the first 5 or 6 hitters, were all, big time, hitters. They're playing at the next level or will be playing at the next level. Um, they were a very gritty team, I will say. And they, to me, hitting is about grit and toughness and things like that. And that team had it, as far as no matter when they were down or what the outcome, might look like at that moment, that team had the ability to kind of put all that aside and rise to the occasion. This team has kind of had to find their own way. We've had some guys that, to be honest with you, didn't play a lot. We got some seniors that they were behind guys that were better than them for the last couple of years, that are getting opportunities. And I thought it's been tough being the defending state champs, but it's not the same team.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks you're the state champions, but that team's gone. We lost 10 guys from that team last year. So we're not that same team. And so, but you have the same expectations. You get everybody's best shot. And so that's been a little bit hard for this team just to find their own identity. We don't have the power that team, with Kyle Bolston and George Gilson and Seth Alford and Colt Myers. That's a lot of home runs. And we don't really have that. So we're definitely a different type of team. And so that's just getting them to buy in of who we are. But I like what we've done. I mean, I like, we played a very, very tough schedule.
Yeah.
We've competed against, the best of the best. I mean, Winter Park is right there, Bishop Verot right there. And then we played some really tough Georgia teams. And so I think this team is battle tested. I think we've done all we can to prepare them to get them for what's about to happen. I think we're well prepared.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that preparation, like the structure of practice, how important it is to have a structure, or are there any kind of mottos and things you kind of tell your guys going throughout the year?
So yeah, structure, I mean, to me, I'll miss things if I don't, so probably 8-9 years ago, I had a coach show me a checklist of everything that can happen during a baseball season. And he had it in a grid format, Excel format. And then he would go through and he would check off or put a date when we covered this and how much time we allotted to it. So you might not work on double cuts, but 3 times a year, but you might work on bunt defenses 10 times a year, things that whatever you think is valuable, you're going to put more time into that, but you want to make sure you don't miss anything. So if you don't have any structure, to me, that's when something gets missed. And so a lot of times as the game is happening, I'll say to, one of my assistant coaches, we need to put that in the practice plan. Like we're going to work on something today. We haven't worked on the entire year. Mm-hmm. It happened. We had the bases loaded and we had a pass ball and we didn't rotate right on the backup of it. And so we're going to cover that today, but how many times are you going to have the bases loaded and a pass ball where both the first and the third baseman need to be backing up that position?
Yeah, sure.
So it's really important to me. I mean, that's my job as the CEO, basically. I have to be, I have to organize everything, get the guys prepared. So when they go into the game, if you feel like you're prepared, you're going to play pretty loose to me.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I had 2 questions in the same sentence. Do you have a favorite memory this season with this group of guys, and do you have an all St. John's favorite memory on the baseball field?
Oh man, I got so many good memories. I mean, this team is pretty funny. A lot of my favorite things really aren't game stuff. I just like being around the guys.
Yeah.
It seems like this team has really come together pretty well and gelled and things like that. Probably favorite. I mean, we play some big games. And I've got Braden Harris has been a joy to be around this year. Competing against him, and I didn't know him at all. I don't know if I'd ever had a conversation with him. Whenever he came here to St. John's, him in the clay game, and just fun. I mean, he kind of took us on his back, for that game. And you're worried about pitch counts and things like that. And I just remember going to him and talking to him before the 7th inning when he had to go out there and just telling him, here's how many pitches you have left. And it's like a foregone conclusion in his mind. Like when I left that conversation, it's like, yeah, this game's over. Like he is not going to let us lose this game. And so that him pitching in that game was pretty special. But we've had a lot of big moments. Yeah. Hunter hitting the grand slam a week ago was pretty big.
And then Nick's hit against Parkview.
Yeah, that was another good memory.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that my best one is yet to come.
Yeah.
Favorite memory of all time. You would think winning a state championship would be it, but it probably is leading up to it that in the Final Four game, we really got down to our last out. Well, we got down to our last strike in that game, and then Kyle gets a hit, Colt gets on, and then George hits the walk off, and so that's probably my favorite memory, is because you're human to kind of think to yourself like, man, maybe the run is going to end here, and then the guys kind of stepped up. So that Final Four victory last year was probably one of my favorite.
Yeah, talk about travel ball. You coach travel ball as well. The Dodgers scout team, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a big difference in travel ball in high school, and which one would you prefer more of coaching?
Well, I definitely prefer high school. I mean, I do think there's a big difference. The travel scene is a lot more relaxed. I mean, it could be more talented, depending on what level you play in high school and who you're playing and things like that. So it can be the best of the best. And I've been a part of some travel teams and played other teams that, almost every guy has been drafted, that we played against. But it seems like it's just more about individual, of throwing as hard as you can and, getting committed, and which I'm all in favor of. But it's just a different atmosphere. The level of scouting, and I tell guys this all the time, like they'll have big summers, on the travel scene, but yet they struggle in the high school scene. And I'll tell them, because nobody is scouting you to figure out how to get you out on the summer circuit. Like a guy, you're just facing another pitcher. When he gets to an 0-2 count, he's just trying to throw a fastball as hard as he can, In high school, it's not like that. And to me, the bond of the guys in high school is just something that, to me is the best competition that there is.
Yeah, we kind of haven't talked about this a while, since one of the first couple of weeks in the show. We mentioned what rule would you change if you could change a rule in baseball. We kind of mentioned, I don't remember who we brought that question up to, but we mentioned a designated fielder. Kind of not at the high school level, because you want the guys in high school to hit, but maybe in like the pro level, just have someone who can play the field all 9 innings.
Yeah.
If you could change a rule, what would it be?
Man, I like the game the way it is. I do think, as far as the game of baseball, I don't know if I'd change any of those rules. I thought it was kind of cool when we go to Cooperstown that you can have certain games where you can bat. What was it? We could bat 12 guys, and then you can drop the bottom 3 after they've hit in Cooperstown.
Really?
So it's a way to, like, everybody gets to hit and things like that. Because there's some games we play where you'd like to get more guys at bats and things like that. So maybe that Cooperstown rule. I do think playing more games in high school baseball.
Yeah.
I think if we went from 25 to 35,
I agree with
I
that.
think would probably be the rule that I'd want to change here locally for us.
Yeah. Do you think? What do you think about like robot umpires or strike zones in the major leagues?
I'm not a big fan of it, just because I think there is some human element, and it to me that's life.
Yeah,
I
agree.
it's and that's what I tell the guys. Sometimes he's not trying to make a mistake. That's just the way it's going to go, and you have to overcome those things. So we played in games where we kind of say we're going to have to overcome those bad decisions. I'm not a fan. I watch it. I think it takes the art of catching out. We have a huge advantage in that, and who we have there. I think he does a great job. Because I watch some of them where it says it's a strike, but the catcher's mitt looks like it moves a foot out of the zone. I think I'd be going nuts if that was called a strike.
We're wrapping up here. A few more questions left. When you first started, being the pitching coach out here, helping out, did you think you'd be doing it this long?
I didn't. I really didn't. We had a really good group that graduated in 22, and some of those guys were on campus. Brad Hodges was a 6th grader, but he wasn't even eligible to play yet. And I thought I'd probably finish out with that group, but then you start building relationships with kids. And I had a really special group with Kyle Boylston and Jacob Thomas, and that class that was together, that we went to Cooperstown and won that. So I'd had that group since they were 9 years old. And so then it's like, okay, well, I know I'm going to finish with that group. Well, they were in 2 separate graduating classes. Some graduated in 23, some graduated last year. And then so a lot of people thought, oh, he's gonna leave after 23 because my nephew was on that team. Well, he's gonna leave after 24 because that's when Kyle and Cody and George and but now you meet new kids, and new kids come on campus, and me and Hunter Rogers have an unbelievable relationship. Me and Preston Cole have a great relationship. So there's always the next generation. So I don't know how long I'll do it, but I've really enjoyed it. I didn't think it would ever go this long, but I'm really enjoying what I do.
Yeah. Tell me what you do outside of baseball when you're not in the baseball field. It's a weekend. You're chilling there. Some nice weather. What are you doing?
So I like to fish. I mean, I've had a lot of different jobs in my life. One of those was I used to be a charter boat captain. So I was a fishing guide in the area. So I really like to fish. In the last few years, we've moved where I've got a house on the water and I can pretty much fish anytime I want to.
Yeah.
I don't get to fish a lot because of the baseball season. I own my own business, so I have a property management company with Remax. So that keeps me pretty busy, but I've got a really good team that gives me the opportunity to coach baseball. So I like to play golf. So if I'm not doing anything, like this coming weekend is an off weekend for us as we get going to the playoffs. We're going to go to a resort. My wife will lay out at the pool. I'll go to the golf course, and then we'll meet for lunch afterwards. So that's kind of like a dream weekend for me.
Yeah, sounds fun. Last question here. If you could give any advice to the young players out there watching these high school games, wanting to play high school baseball or wanting to get to the next level, what would you say to them?
So, and we used to have a shirt. There was one year that our whole message was about being obsessed. And if you're not obsessed, then you're just average. And so my message to young players or any player, I don't care, is obsession is going to beat talent over and over and over again. And so that's what separates the great players. Like you take somebody with, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant type talent. So they've got all the greatest talent in the world, but those are two of the most obsessed people. Now that's how you become great. And so, but you can take somebody who's not as athletic, who doesn't have all the talent in the world, but they're obsessed at succeeding, and they're going to beat the person who is very talented, has D1 talent, but they're just laid back and they're not obsessed. So be obsessed and passionate about what you do. I would say that would be my advice to a young player.
Head coach Tom Lucas with the St. John's Country Day Spartans. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully we can make another run this year.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of pressure on you.
Yeah.
So no, thanks guys for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you guys joining. We'll be back next week. Hopefully at another field or back in the studio.